You thought motivation was the formula. Winners don't need motivation. Winners need discipline. Discipline's about getting it done because it needs to get done, not because I feel like it, not because I'm motivated for it. Do you know, if you study people who are at the pinnacle of anything, you recognize that to get there, motivation was maybe 1% of the formula. Maybe. 1%. And I'll prove it to you. If you want to become a world-class bodybuilder, say an IFBB pro, what that takes is you have to train twice a day, 6 days a week. You have to have 8 meals a day. Your calorie intake is regimented. Your meals are pre-planned and pre-cooked. You don't eat according to taste, you eat according to function. So my trainer, for instance, will eat and I'm going, what are you eating? And he's having he'll have chicken that was boiled without salt. And he'll have like half a kilo of it. And what are you doing? He says, I'm taking in protein. He doesn't say I'm eating, he says, I'm taking in protein. For him, it's functional, it's not taste-based. Then, you would probably have to train for a minimum, and this is if you are a genetic phenom, you'd have to train for a minimum of 10 years before you could get on a stage and compete at an average level with an average global bodybuilder. Average. Okay. So why am I telling you this? All of us here at the beginning of a new year write these things called New Year's resolutions. And then New Year's resolutions, number 1, make more money. Yeah? Number 2, change my boyfriend. Number 3, get into shape. Yeah? Number 3, get into shape is somewhere in the top 3. So what do? You go to the gym, you get a gym membership. Yeah? You go to the local Nike store and you buy like all of your gym gear. You are motivated. You are inspired. You are going to the damn gym. You go to YouTube, you subscribe to all of the fitness channels. You go to your Instagram, you follow all of the fitness models. You are motivated. You are going to the damn gym. You're going to get in shape. That's what you're going to do. The people you're following on YouTube have been working on for a minimum of 5 years to look like that. So you have the incorrect understanding that after a month of working out, you're going to look like them. So what happens in the first month? You're excited. You go to gym every single month. And you take the pains and your body is sore, but I'm excited. I'm going to gym. Then life happens. Company doesn't make money, you don't make your targets, you fall a bit ill, something happens, and all of a sudden you stop going to gym for a day becomes 2 becomes a week. Now all of a sudden you've had a gym membership for 3 months and you haven't been in that time. What did you miss? You thought motivation was the formula. Winners don't need motivation, winners need discipline. Discipline's about getting it done because it needs to get done, not because I feel like it, not because I'm motivated for it. You think Nelson Mandela was motivated to spend 27 years in prison? You think Martin Luther King was motivated to march across the states and proclaim freedom? You think, if you look at people that change the world, they're not doing it because they're motivated. They're doing it because they made a commitment to do it and they disciplined to see it through. Discipline is far more important than motivation, which is why you got to be careful the decisions you make, because once you make the decision, you have to see that decision through. Like my mentor says, first we make the decisions, then the decisions make us. So you got to be very careful the decisions you make. Be very careful the commitments you make. Motivation, I'm telling you now, is completely overrated. It's important. Don't get me wrong. We meet according to motivation. We feel good, rah-rah. But that'll fade. You need a stronger will and a deeper commitment to see things through.
Well, the problem with some of our younger generation today, they just want to jump and see themselves up there, overnight. It doesn't really happen. What you need to do is to be very, very focused as a person and be dedicated to whatever that you are doing. It is not really good for you to now go and try something, then after a month you just say, no, it doesn't work. You jump into something else. I think you need to be very, very focused in what you are doing. Once you believe in what you are doing, you see, you should not take your either business or job as something that you must do. Okay, you must take it as it's part of your hobby. if you are going into any business, you must understand the business A to Z. You must know that business. You shouldn't just go and invest because somebody now will say, okay, hey, you know, there's good money in cement, then you go and jump into cement. You have to understand the business in and out. And that's the difference with me. I know my business in and out. You can wake me up any time and ask me about fertilizer, ask me about anything that we are doing. And the other one is really to work very hard, and you have to have the tenacity of continuing to, you have some hiccups here and there, but you have to be focused in terms of what you are doing. For an entrepreneur, there are no boundaries. Not only are there no boundaries, you can actually excel much more than your own expectation. And that's really what I expect of an entrepreneur to be. Not to just say, okay, fine, I have a vision and only achieve that your vision. You need to have a vision and a mission so that you can actually actualize it and also excel. I mean, I had somebody who came to interview me one time, and I told him that, yes, you know, 3, 4, 5 years ago, I never ever expected myself to be on the Forbes list. But right now, the vision that I have and also my own mission is actually to be on top of the line, not even where I am today. And that's really how, you know, a visionary person should be. One of the biggest issues with us Africans is that we spend our projected incomes. Once you start doing business, business starts doing well, rather than for you to keep reinvesting into the business, you start spending money and thinking that that profit will continue to come. There are ups and downs in business, so you need to be very, very focused and say, okay, fine, what do you do and how do you do those things? Well, you know, it's just persistency, hard work, and determination. But you know, with all these things, you need to have a vision and also strategy to achieve the vision. And I think that really that's what you know, we have. Boldness in terms of taking calculated risk in areas where hardly people go and invest. We normally take up challenge. To be an entrepreneur and also to be a visionary person, you have to actually be very, very bold. You have to be ready to take calculated risk, not just any risk. You have to take a calculated risk, and you have to think big. If you think small, you will always remain small in life. So these are the 3 things which you have to do, and you must be consistent. When you try a business and you start, you might have hiccups here and there, but it does not mean that that business is not going to work. There must be challenges. In fact, what I keep saying is that life without challenges is very, very boring. So if you have challenges, you just have to know how to work out or how to work around these challenges, and you will be successful once you are consistent. What business doesn't like is for you to try something, and then once you have 1 or 2 problems, you now want to change and move into another business. That doesn't work in business. You have to make sure that you're honest. You must make sure that you don't destroy the name, you know, because your name is very important. That's the most valuable asset that you have going forward. Because if you don't have a good name, even the banks, doesn't matter how big you are, they're not going to touch you. Yeah. At all. So you must make sure that you have a very, very good name. And number 3, you have to make sure that you say that, look, nothing is impossible. Once you say that, yes, nothing is impossible, it means that you can actually achieve that target. Dangote, you need a bit of luck, but hard work is key. If you want to enjoy life, then you'll not be able to work hard. I think it's always better make the money, then you can enjoy yourself. The real thing about wealth, what will make you to enjoy it and also be happy that yes, you are rich, is actually how many lives you can touch.
Absolutely.
While you are alive, you know, and that's what you know, I think we need to do. We'll concentrate, we'll give more as God continues to bless us. We also have to pay back, give back to the society.
If you're starting a company, you need to work super hard. So what does super hard mean? Well, when my brother and I were starting our first company, instead of getting an apartment, we just rented a small office and we slept on the couch. And we showered at the YMCA. And we're so hot up, we had just one computer. So the website was up during the day, and I was coding at night. 7 days a week, all the time. Work hard, like, every waking hour. That's the thing I would say, particularly if you're starting a company.
And first of all, I'd say starting a business is not for everyone. So generally, starting a business, I'd say number one is have a high pain threshold. That's it. There's a friend of mine who's got a good saying, which is that starting a company is like eating glass and staring into the abyss. Okay, that's generally what happens, because when you first start a company, there's lots of optimism and things are great, and then so happiness at first is high. Then you encounter all sorts of issues, and happiness will steadily decline, and then you'll go through a whole world of hurt. And then eventually, if you succeed, and in most cases you will not succeed, and Tesla almost didn't succeed, came very close to failure. Then if you succeed, then after a long time you will finally get back to happiness. I think too is you've got to make sure that whatever you're doing is a great product or service. It has to be really great. And I go back to what I was saying earlier, where if you're a new company, unless it's like some new industry or new market that, if it's an untapped market, or then you have more ability to. The standard is lower for your product or service. But if you're entering anything where there's an existing marketplace against large entrenched competitors, then your product or service needs to be much better than theirs. It can't be a little bit better, because then you put yourself in the shoes of the consumer, and they say, why would you buy it as a consumer? You're always going to buy the trusted brand unless there's a big difference. So a lot of times, entrepreneur will come up with something which is only slightly better. And it can't just be slightly better. It's got to be a lot better. Number three, I'd say, is constantly seek criticism. A well thought out critique of whatever you're doing is as valuable as gold. And you should seek that from everyone you can, but particularly your friends. Usually your friends know what's wrong. It doesn't mean your friends are right, but very often they are right. And you at least want to listen very carefully to what they say. And to everyone, you're looking for, basically, you should take the approach that you're wrong. That you, the entrepreneur, are wrong. Your goal is to be less wrong. I think certainly being focused on something that you're confident will have high value to someone else, and just being really rigorous in making that assessment, because people tend to, a natural human tendency is wishful thinking. So a challenge for entrepreneurs is to say, well, what's the difference between really believing in your ideals and sticking to them versus pursuing some unrealistic dream that doesn't actually have merit? And that is a really difficult thing to tell. Can you tell the difference between those two things?
Right.
So you need to be sort of very rigorous in your self-analysis. I think certainly extremely tenacious, and then just work like hell. I mean, you just have to put in, 80 to 100-hour weeks every week. And
That's
then
a lot of work.
All those things improve the odds of success.
Okay.
I mean, if other people are putting in 40-hour work weeks and you're putting in 100-hour work weeks, then even if you're doing the same thing, you know that in 1 year you will achieve what they achieve. You will achieve in 4 months what it takes them a year to achieve.
The big visions need humble beginnings. If your vision is such that it is so big that you can't start, then you never will start. There is nothing that you cannot do from here. There's nothing we cannot do to build this continent. There's nothing. We have the people, we have the resources. We don't have much. It's true. As I wrote the other week, I said, in Africa it sometimes seems like we don't have enough of anything. We don't have enough schools, we don't have enough teachers, we don't have enough doctors, we don't have enough whatever, we don't have enough food. But not having enough does not mean we have nothing. We have enough to get going. The code. So are you going to compete with that if you don't get going? It's not hard. We're one of the fastest expanding regions in the world. Only China expanded faster than us in that period. Okay? Do you see that, Africa? Yes, we have a lot of challenges. Who doesn't? Europe has a war in the middle of Europe right now, you know. So we all have challenges, okay? And each generation has to address and take on those challenges. So what I try to do is to teach principles that will make you a success as an entrepreneur, irrespective of the conditions. And one of my mantras is to say the entrepreneur must train like a soldier. We fight in the conditions, not the conditions. Because we really can't wake up in the morning and say, today it's raining, I'm not fighting. So the challenges are there. But the thing is, Africa is full of entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurship is alive and well in Africa. It is just building the support systems to ensure that these ventures can grow and scale. We have enough to get going. Do you think entrepreneurs are there to start businesses? Steve Jobs is dead, so who gave us the iWatch? If it's all done by the entrepreneur who started the business. No, everybody must be an entrepreneur. We need an entrepreneurial revolution on this continent. And it starts with you. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to fail. There are no jails anymore for people who failed and went into bankruptcy. It used to be like that in the 18th century in England. You went to jail, you went bankrupt. Now you get an award. Okay? So don't be afraid of that. What is important? For me, Africa's challenge is not entrepreneurship. You want to see entrepreneurship? Go to our markets. That's entrepreneurship. Our informal sector, that's entrepreneurship. For me, the challenge for us is how do we scale to build bigger businesses? Okay? How do we scale to build our own big companies? Our own African company, more and more Dangotes and so forth. You've got to get the product right. But you know, the thing with the product is, it's like the old generals say, that they tell you that a battle plan is only as good as your first contact with the enemy. We say a business plan is only as good as your first contact with a customer. Okay, you might have great ideas, okay, but until you get to the person who's going to buy this product, pay you for this product, because there's also a lot of products that people like that they're not willing to pay for, by the way. It's about how do we recognize it, nurture it, and take it to the next level that will produce the enterprises that enable us to compete. We don't want to be the consumers of Google and Alibaba and Apple and Facebook. We want our own. That's not to say we don't want those to be there, but we want a generation of entrepreneurs, particularly at the elite level like you guys to leave this kind of place saying, if Mark could do it, I can and should be able to. You gotta have real friends and partners out there, okay? And it's also important to create, that's why it's important to create networks of entrepreneurs. You guys, I wish I was your age. The kind of technology you have, here we are in a conversation of Africans reaching out across Africa, talking to each other. And sometimes I marvel when I see a comment and I see a string of comments going on in a little group of people around something, sometimes having an argument about what I meant, and I keep quiet. Believe you me, that excites me. You got to build your own networks of entrepreneurs. You got to be talking to each other. You got to know what others are going through. You see, these associations you see, Tanzania Chamber of Commerce or, Zimbabwe Trade, you know what? They were started by entrepreneurs just like you when they were young. They didn't come out of Noah's Ark, so make your own, okay? Build your own networks where you strengthen each other, where you reinforce each other, where you're exchanging ideas with peer groups. Because sometimes it's one thing to know what Dangote does, but it may be more relevant to know what your neighbor did who's in exactly the same situation as yourself. I'd rather not talk of it in terms of business and spiritual life. Let's talk in terms of business and the rest and your life. For a start, you and the business are two separate personas. You are not the business and the business is not you. I know this sounds difficult for some because you are so passionate and involved in your business. A cousin of mine came to borrow some money. And, you know how it is with cousins. And he said, cousin, I have an emergency. Can I have some money? I said, I don't have any money. He said, but I just read that you've got a lot of money. I said, no, you're wrong. You read that the company has a lot of money. No money. Now, that's very profound. Separate yourself from the business. Let the business have its own persona. That's how big businesses grow. They are going to, so if you can't have your cousin walk in, need some money, and you take money from the till, and you give the cousin, it doesn't matter what the emergency is. The business is not you, and you are not the business. You build that into your consciousness, because the day you have partners, that's going to be extremely important. Because you'll end up with fights. When they say, but you took money, and how come you have a new car? Or, So you separate yourself from the business. The day you separate yourself from the business and allow it to have its own persona, you will have a life. So let the business have a life and you go have a life. That means attend to your family, be in your family, do the things that, my kids didn't know I was in business until they were teenagers. Oh yeah. Because I never allowed them to see me, the businessman. I go home as their father. I go home as their dad. One of my kids came up to me and says, Dad, one of my friends at school said this about you. I said, really? Oh, I said, that's interesting. Well, how about your homework? Okay, you can't function as CEO and chairman in your marriage. Your wife can't relate to you as Mr. Chairman. Come on. You're gonna get a life. Okay? So you separate. My wife and I don't discuss the business. We discuss orphans and the things we do in our foundation and so forth. And that's it. Because I want to have a life. You have to get a life. Don't overdo it. It's a long stretch. Okay? And go home, take your socks off, watch the television, go and watch the movie. My kids and I, they're home from school. You know, we live in England. Every night we watch a movie. Oh yeah. My 15-year-old says, okay, so what are we watching today? She says, Batman. Okay, well, fine, we watch Batman or whatever it is. You've got to do that. Because if you don't do that, you wake up one morning, your kids are gone, you don't know them, and you know what? No matter what happens, you're not taking it with you.